emotional capital, the home search breakdown plus the untold attention drain. She stood in the third kitchen that day, sunlight cutting through the dusty window, and felt nothing. Not excitement, not hope. Just the familiar weight of trying to imagine a life that didn't exist yet. The real estate agent's voice blurred into background noise as she traced her finger along the countertop, wondering if this space could ever feel like home, or if she was searching for something that had nothing to do with square footage at all. House hunting wasn't supposed to feel like this. Somewhere between the listings and the open houses, between the mortgage calculators and the endless scrolling, she'd lost track of what she was actually looking for. And she wasn't alone. What no one talks about is the invisible cost of searching for a home. Not the down payment or the closing costs, but the emotional capital you spend before you ever sign a single document. The mental energy that drains away with every listing refresh, every comparison, every what if, that keeps you awake at 3 in the morning. She didn't realize it at first. It started innocuously enough, checking a few listings over morning coffee, bookmarking homes that seemed promising. But within days, it had consumed her. Every spare moment became another search, another neighborhood to research, another school district to compare. Her phone became an extension of her anxiety, buzzing with alerts about price drops and new listings. The paradox of choice had quietly taken over. With thousands of homes available at her fingertips, she thought more options would make the decision easier. Instead, it made everything harder. Behavioral economists have studied this phenomenon extensively. When faced with too many choices, our brains don't feel empowered, they feel paralyzed. Every home she viewed became measured against an impossible composite of all the others. The kitchen from the first house, the yard from the third, the location of the one she saw last Tuesday. She was building a fantasy home from fragments, and nothing real could compete. But it wasn't just the volume of choices wearing her down. It was the emotional weight each one carried. Every home represented a possible future, a different version of her life, different schools for her kids, different commutes, different neighbors, different versions of who she might become in those spaces. And with each viewing, she had to emotionally invest in that possibility. Imagine herself there, feel it only to walk away and start the process over again. What would you have done in her place? Her partner didn't understand why she couldn't just pick one. They all seemed fine to him. 3 bedrooms, decent neighborhood, within budget, what else was there to consider? But he wasn't the one spending hours researching crime statistics, school ratings, future development plans. He wasn't the one carrying the invisible labor of transforming a house into the idea of home. This is where the attention drain becomes dangerous, because while she was pouring her mental energy into this search, everything else started to slip. Work projects missed deadlines. Conversations with friends became level. She stopped cooking meals she enjoyed, defaulting to whatever was fastest. Her morning routine, once a sacred time for herself, dissolved into compulsive listing checks. The search had become a second job, except this one paid in anxiety instead of income. She almost gave up, until one message changed everything. It came from her sister, who'd been through this process years earlier. Not advice about neighborhoods or financing. Just a simple question: what are you actually searching for? The question sat with her for days. Because the truth was, she didn't know anymore. Somewhere in the endless scroll, she'd lost the thread. The initial vision, a safe place for her family, space to grow, a sense of belonging, had been buried under an avalanche of data points and comparison metrics. Then came the doubt, the kind that whispers louder than failure. Maybe she was asking too much. Maybe she needed to lower her standards, be more realistic. Maybe the perfect home didn't exist, and she was wasting everyone's time searching for it. But that doubt revealed something important. She wasn't failing at finding a home, she was failing at protecting her attention. And that distinction mattered. Attention is finite. It's not just limited, it's precious. Every hour spent researching neighborhoods is an hour not spent present with her family. Every mental loop about mortgage rates is energy unavailable for creativity, connection, or rest. The home search wasn't just taking her time, it was taking her life. Part of her still felt guilty for wanting clarity, as if decisiveness had to be sacrificed for thoroughness. As if being a responsible adult meant drowning in options until the right one somehow revealed itself. Sometimes growth doesn't look like progress, it looks like staying present, staying grounded in what actually matters instead of what might matter in every possible scenario. She started implementing boundaries. Small ones at first. No listing checks before 9 in the morning or after 8 at night. 1 day per week, completely search-free. When she caught herself mentally redesigning a house she hadn't even toured yet, she'd stop and breathe. Just breathe. The transformation wasn't immediate, but it was real. She created a simple filter system, not for houses, but for her own decision-making. 3 non-negotiables. Everything else was bonus. This forced her to get honest about what truly mattered versus what sounded good on paper. Location, light, and layout. Everything else could be adapted, renovated, or accepted as imperfect. What surprised her was how much lighter she felt after implementing this framework. Not because the search became easier, but because she'd stopped carrying the emotional weight of every possibility. She was no longer dating every house, emotionally investing in each one. She was interviewing them against clear criteria. Research shows that homebuyers who establish clear, limited criteria upfront experience significantly less decision fatigue and higher satisfaction with their eventual choice. It's not about settling, it's about clarity, protecting you from exhaustion. Her workspace was still her kitchen counter, but it no longer felt like chaos. It felt like possibility. She scheduled viewings strategically, clustering them into focused sessions rather than letting them bleed across entire weeks. She set calendar blocks for the search, treating it like the significant project it was, but also giving it boundaries. When the time block ended, the search ended. Her attention returned to her present life. This is the part most people miss. The home search isn't separate from your life, it's happening inside your life. And if you're not careful, it consumes the very life you're trying to build a home for. She smiled, not because it was easy, but because it was finally hers. Her attention, her energy, her choice about where to invest both. The breakthrough came during a viewing she almost canceled. She was tired, skeptical, convinced it wouldn't be the one. But something shifted when she walked in. Not love at first sight, just recognition. This space matched her criteria. More importantly, standing there, she could feel herself relaxing. Not trying to force a feeling or imagine a future. Just being present. Maybe success just wasn't meant for someone like her. Someone who needed things to feel right, not just look right on paper. Someone who trusted intuition as much as inspection reports. But that thought dissolved as she stood in what would become her living room. Success wasn't about finding the perfect house. It was about trusting herself enough to know the difference between perfect and right. The offer process was its own emotional gauntlet. Negotiations, inspections, unexpected repairs, moments of doubt about whether they'd made the right choice. But she noticed something different this time. She wasn't spiraling. The boundaries she'd built around her attention during the search had become habits. When anxiety arose, she had tools to contain it rather than letting it flood every corner of her mind. What helped her the most wasn't just learning to set boundaries, it was realizing that protecting her attention wasn't selfish. It was necessary. For her well-being, for her family, for her ability to show up fully in the life she was building. Disclaimer: this content is for educational purposes only and does not replace consultation or assistance from a professional. Always consult a qualified professional for any questions related to finance, business, or investments. The hidden curriculum of home buying that no one teaches you is attention management. Real estate agents show you homes. Mortgage brokers show you numbers. Inspectors show you problems. But no one shows you how to protect your mental energy through a process specifically designed to consume it. The real estate industry thrives on urgency and scarcity. New listing alerts, price drops, multiple offers. The implicit message: you need to be constantly vigilant or you'll miss out. But this creates a state of perpetual activation, where your nervous system never fully relaxes. You're always half waiting for the next notification, the next possibility, the next thing to evaluate. She learned to question that urgency. Yes, some markets move quickly, but manufactured panic serves the system, not the buyer. She could be thorough and thoughtful without being consumed. The right home wouldn't slip away because she took an evening off, and if it did, then it wasn't right. This mindset shift changed everything. The search became something she did, not something she was. An activity with boundaries, not an identity that followed her everywhere. When she poured her coffee the next morning, it was still hot because this time, she wasn't rushing. She was building, not just a home in the physical sense, but a life where her attention belonged to her, where she decided what deserved her mental energy and what didn't. The boxers were still half unpacked. The walls still needed paint. The backyard remained a project for someday. But standing in her kitchen, morning light warming the space, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Peace, not because everything was perfect, but because she was present. Looking back, she could see how the search had taught her something more valuable than real estate knowledge. It had taught her the price of scattered attention and the worth of guarded focus. Every time she'd let the search consume her completely, she'd paid for it in missed moments, surface-level presence, and exhaustion that no amount of sleep could cure. But every time she'd pulled her attention back, created a boundary, chosen presence over possibility, she'd reclaimed a piece of herself. The home search had been a mirror. It reflected how she approached everything: the tendency to over-research, the fear of missing out on a better option, the difficulty trusting herself, the way she equated thoroughness with drowning in information. These patterns didn't begin with house hunting, and they wouldn't end there, but recognizing them, naming them, practicing something different, that was the real foundation she'd been building. Tell us what part of her story resonated with you most, and where you're watching from. Your journey might just inspire the next one. Tell us which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video. Bye.